Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of the Perpetual Promotion podcast. And today I'm going to be covering the top 5 mistakes that I see small business owners make as it relates to their marketing. So, without further ado, let's jump into the mistakes. So, the first mistake I want to cover, I'm going to go backwards from 5 to 1. So mistake number 5, I would say we've already covered in the previous episode. I'll just do a little bit more on that in this one. But basically, mistake number 5 is not a clear marketing message, right? Or a confusing marketing message. I can't tell you how many times, and this is not even just small businesses that mess this up. I see large corporations and companies mess this up as well. I can't tell you how many times I've been driving on the road or driving on the highway, and I see this big poster that cost quite a bit of money, I'm sure, and there's a marketing message on there. And when I read it, my first question is, what do these guys do? I have no idea what they do. And I'm sure you've seen this too. You've seen some big banner or poster on the highway or next to the road or on a building somewhere, some billboard somewhere, and you're going, what is that? I don't understand what that means. Or what are you trying to communicate? Or what's the service behind this, And I think companies get caught out a lot. They're trying to be too clever sometimes, and the joke or the cleverness just gets lost on most of their public. So it ends up not resonating or communicating, and then they spend a bunch of money on something, and like a big poster or even television commercials sometimes, they just don't communicate. I've also noticed a bunch of television adverts that are maybe just too the same as everything else, How many times have you seen the perfume ad, which is basically the same kind of message over and over? There's some beautiful woman or handsome guy, and they're just smartly dressed or something, or there's sometimes it looks like there's almost a bit of a love scene or something, and then that crosses over into perfume. And I just kind of feel like, I'm sure people aren't really going to be responding to that well anymore. That's maybe it worked for a while. Maybe it got some attention back in the 80s or something, but I don't know. I think companies need to be a little bit more unique with their messaging, and they need to stand out a little bit more. They need to work harder at it. I went over how you can craft your one-liner or your elevator pitch or your basic message of what you do in the previous episode. But that's really key. Businesses really need to focus on creating a very clear and concise message for their audience and their public, so that it immediately makes sense to people what they do and why they should use them and why they're a great company or offer or whatever. One last thing that I did want to mention is surveys, right? Surveying can be a very good way for you to create a better marketing message. So before you just promote out there, you can talk to some people. You can find out from your customer base if what you're going to put out into the market is going to appeal to them. You can test some marketing messages. There's lots of ways that you can survey nowadays. Looking at things like how many times a certain keyword gets searched on Google, for example, is a type of surveying, right? Which we use in search engine optimization. And that's just another way of taking a look at, okay, what are people going to react to, or what are they interested in? And then you can make your marketing message match that. Okay, moving along. So mistake number 4, right, is spending too much time on your website to try and make it absolutely perfect. Now, your website is important. Yes, it is very important, and it should, once you've clarified your marketing message, it should communicate that message effectively. It should be aesthetic. It should look beautiful. It should be a pretty website. But I've been involved in too many web design projects myself to know that lots of business owners, especially small business owners, they get stuck on the details a lot, and they can end up taking even like a whole year just to finish off a website project, right? And the whole point of your website is it's a base, it's a stable place to send your traffic, so that that traffic then can find out more about your business and contact you, right? Now, if you spend a whole year working on your website trying to get that thing absolutely perfect, you have lost a whole year's worth of use of the website, right? And it's a tool, it's something that you use, right? If you're building a restaurant, you don't want to spend a whole entire year building your restaurant, right? You want to maybe spend 2-3 months putting that restaurant together and putting it up. You want to get going because you got to serve tables and you got to cook meals and serve drinks and everything, and you want to start promoting and getting people there. You should think about your website in the same way as you would think about setting up shop, right? You want to get it a good product, you want a good website, but you want to do it fast. You don't want to get stuck on this, because I've observed so many guys just get stuck on this one point and they get into an endless back and forth with the designer, and they just are trying to get some level of perfection, which in the end won't make a big difference for the quantity of leads that they get from their website. All right, so that was a simple one. The next mistake number 3, is now that you've got your website, not investing in SEO early enough, right? SEO, search engine optimization. So that's what I do for my business. This is why I'm very passionate about it, because I spent probably the last 14 years or so building hundreds of websites for people. And what I noticed and realized is that, yes, I can create a beautiful website. I can make a nice website which would resonate with people, which my customers really loved. But that's still not the purpose of the website. The website isn't serving its purpose unless it's getting traffic, okay? And search engine optimization, which is basically the skill of improving and tweaking your website in such a manner so as Google likes it and prefers it and starts to show it up in more results. Now, that activity takes time. It's not an overnight thing, right? The moment your website is live, you need to start focusing on the search engine optimization part of it. You need to submit it to Google. You need to kind of establish that communication line with your website and Google immediately, so that Google knows it's there. It can go and try and find new content that you're putting on there regularly, and it can start doing its categorization of your website and figuring out where it wants to place you in terms of the results. Now, a key component of search engine optimization is content creation. What I've observed is that most websites, they tend to do well in terms of search traffic if there's a lot of content on the website, right? So you got to think about it like this, right? When you're typing something in Google, Google's trying to give you a result based on your search. And usually you end up on a page somewhere. Now, that page is probably optimized for a specific search term. So if you searched for something, the page you end up on when you click through, that's most likely the page that Google thinks is most likely to answer your question that you typed in on the search. So you have to think about your website in the same way. You have to think, okay, there are people out there who are searching for things and trying to get some questions answered, and how can I now appear for those questions, and you have to kind of reverse engineer it. So and then you've got to create content answering each one of those questions. Content in the form of blog articles or pages is what you're looking to do. And if you start this early enough, then you can have the benefits and reap the benefits later. It takes about 3 to 6 months to start seeing any real good effect of your SEO, because they've got limited resources too. You know, there's billions of websites on the internet, and they have to spend their resources wisely to go around and looking at each and every website. And then each time they do and they find new information, the algorithm now has to reshuffle the results, right? It has to figure out, okay, so who's on top now for this keyword, who's at the bottom for this keyword, and it needs to do that whole process. And that's, if you take that and you think about, billions of websites, that's a lot of resources. So Google can only do so much at a time. That's why search engine optimization can be slow, which means you need to start it as early as possible. And you should see it as an investment, right? You're investing, if you're doing it yourself, you're investing time into your website. And it's kind of, a good analogy could be that, you've got this dam that you want to fill, but there's no natural waterways flowing into it yet. You've got to dig some ditches, you've got to make some dig some grooves and have create like a water duct and have water flow into your dam, right? And that takes time. It's a little bit of like a construction project, but then when the rain starts pouring, it starts coming down towards your dam. You start filling up your dam. So that's number 3, starting early with your search engine optimization, as early as possible, and also considering it as an investment, right? It's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's going to be something for the future, setting your website up into a good position. Mistake number 2 that I have seen a lot of the time is that a small company would hire a marketing agency, and then they would do this. They would sit back, they would put their hands behind their head and put their feet on the table, and they would say, well, let's watch what happens. Let's see if the leads roll in. And if they don't roll in, then I'm just going to fire that agency and I'll hire the next one. And they keep doing that, right? Expecting everything to now come from this agency that they've hired. And the reality is that a lot of agencies, they focus on what they're skilled at or what they have found success in the past, what they found to be successful for them to get results for their customers. And a lot of the times also I've observed small companies don't have big budgets to spend on every single marketing activity. So they end up signing up with the agency with something that's affordable, something like some Google ads or Facebook ads or something, or maybe just some social media management. And then they sit back and they wait for the leads to roll in, and they're very confused when maybe a month or so later they haven't gotten this landslide of business that they were expecting yet. And it's because marketing is not just one thing that you do, right? Marketing is communicating your message out there to the public, right? And having it received well and making yourself known, right? But there's so many ways that you can do that. And to hire a company and expect them to do all of that with a small little budget, that's irresponsible in my opinion, right? You as the business owner, you have a responsibility of making it rain, right? I've heard of guys calling themselves rainmakers and stuff like that. But if you're a business owner, it's your responsibility to get new business in, and you need to do whatever it takes to do that, right? And yes, sure, if you're hiring someone for a specific marketing activity, you expect to see results from that, absolutely. But that doesn't mean that you stop everything else, right? You need to do the other successful actions as well. You need to continue those. And, something like I've observed as well is, you have a customer base, for example, or you are in communication with your customers on a daily basis, but you stop selling to them, or you stop trying to upsell them or get them to sign up for more services, right? Because now you're doing marketing and you just kind of focus on new customers the whole time. That's one example. Or maybe in the beginning, when you started your business, you did a lot of cold calling, right? And you called a bunch of people asking them for business. And then at some point you decided, no, that's too much effort. So now you're just doing marketing and you stop that activity. What I'm saying is that whatever is working in your business, or did work, or should work, you should be trying to do, right? And if you don't have enough budget for that, then fine, do it yourself, right? If you don't have the budget to hire a company, to a marketing company that does everything for you, then you got to do some of the things yourself, right? It means that you've got to be the one posting on Facebook every day, or Instagram, or TikTok, or creating videos, doing whatever it is that you can do, and doing that well and consistently. If you keep every single marketing activity going, you are much more likely to get a result, right? And I do understand that in certain businesses, some business owners, they're just too busy, so they can't do everything. Fine, I get that. But what you gotta then do is pick a platform or an activity that does really well for you, and just focus on that and really ramp up the volume on that as much as possible. So that brings us to the number one mistake that I've seen small businesses make, and that is consistency. Now, what do I mean by that? I simply mean that they're doing some form of marketing, but they're not doing it consistently. And this ties in very well with number two, where, I've seen companies, they hire a marketing agency, they try them out for a month or two, they don't really get a result right away, and then they just stop. Or they switch, or they say, no, I'm going to switch to another provider because this guy's not working for me. Now, it can obviously depend on the type of marketing that they were doing for, what that agency was doing for them. So it can be difficult sometimes to really know whether you're getting a good result or not, because different forms of marketing take different lengths of time to give you a result. So what I would say though is that for most marketing activities, you need to give it at least 6 months, right? You need to give it all that you got and try it out for at least 6 months, right? Certain forms of marketing, you should give at least a year or more to see some results or to see something from it. For example, if you've got a YouTube channel and you're starting up your YouTube channel and you post 3 videos in the first 3 weeks and you only get a few likes and no comments and 1 subscriber, you're going to feel a little bit disheartened, right? And I can see, why a lot of people, they would start some really great promotional activity and then quit pretty early because the lack of results. But certain things just take time to build. So the YouTube channel example, a YouTube channel takes at least I would say a year or more to build, because there's a certain point where the consistency of just posting videos every week starts to build up to, maybe like a make-break point or something, where the algorithm starts really benefiting you and seeing that you are posting regularly and you have great content. And I've observed this, and if you go look at any person who's got a great YouTube channel, you'll find that most of their earlier videos didn't get as much attention, and the later videos start to get more and more and more attention. And it's simply a time factor, right? Just like I was explaining that your website and SEO takes time, right? If you're creating a YouTube channel, you're kind of creating a website on YouTube, which the YouTube algorithm will take some time to build some kind of preference around and realize, okay, you've got videos here, there's content here. It analyzes so many different data points, right, to try and figure out what content to show to people. And YouTube is also a search engine, right? So similar to SEO, something like a YouTube channel can take at least a year to really start getting results. Other forms of marketing can be quicker, like ads, right? If you're running Google search ads or Facebook ads, these are supposed to give you a result much faster. But I say but because depending on whether the marketer that you hired has already successfully created a campaign in your niche or industry, that can sometimes take a bit longer, right? If you hire a marketer and they're used to running ads for a different industry, and now they're going to apply what they know to your industry, there might still be a little bit of a learning curve there. Or maybe you're in the same industry, but you've got a different area that you're servicing or something, right? What I'm saying is there's different variables that could cause the campaign to take a little bit of time to perfect and get right, so that you are getting results for the lowest cost possible, because ads are all about you're spending X amount, you want to get Y back in terms of your return on investment. You want to be spending the lowest amount and getting the most quantity of leads or sales. So there can be some variations and variables and factors there. The platforms are also different, and it can sometimes take, I would say, for any ads, any ad campaign that you're doing, you should give that at least 3 months, right? And 3 months of continuous optimization and testing and tweaking and trying different things to see if you can get a sweet spot or hit some kind of a result that's effective. So to recap, so number one mistake, consistency, right? If you want to see results, you have to stick at something for at least the amount of time that it would typically take for that activity to start showing results. So marketing is not a quick fix, you switch the light on and then suddenly things start happening. Yeah, that can happen too, right? You can get lucky, you can create a really good message, you put it out there, and immediately you start getting leads and results. I've had that so many times. Maybe I set up an ad campaign for a customer. The first iteration I put together ended up being the best and got me the most leads at the lowest cost, and I just never could improve on that. That's happened a lot of times too. But I've also had the reverse. I've had to really spend a lot of time and effort to perfect a campaign and get it to work and give me results. So those are the top five things that I've observed. I'm sure there might be other things. This was just something that I put together in terms of what I think are the most prominent things I've seen businesses do in terms of mistakes. And if you think of any others, you're welcome to send me, write a little comment. And I hope this was valuable and helpful to you. If it was, then please hit the subscribe button wherever you found this podcast. And I'll see you in the next episode. Have a good day.